Hi guys, I'm Dr. Tom Dawson, and today I'd like us to talk a little bit about one of the biggest struggles that folks in my practice deal with. Now, this is the picky eater, my child won't eat, we're having trouble at meal times. While this may be one of the most common struggles in my families, from my standpoint, it is almost never a problem. Now, for me to say it's not a problem, that means this is not a medical problem. It does not mean that this is not a struggle. It is. But the good news is it's easy to solve. We just have to get rid of the guilt. So how does all this feeding thing work out? Well, to start out as babies, babies are pretty good eaters in general. You know, they like to eat. They like routine. They get into kind of a pattern where the feedings are pretty dependable, and it's a good time to bond with mom. And babies are usually pretty good feeders. All this comes to a crashing end around the time they're 15 months. You know, at 10 months, they'd been eating like a horse. They were taking solids. They were on this nice schedule where mom sort of felt like it was a science project, and she was getting an A in science. And then at 15 months, about 2/3 just quit eating. They start taking about one spoonful at each meal. And then like every maybe 7th meal, they eat a ton. And while that's a weird pattern, I didn't make the pattern. That's just what 15-month-olds do. Now, a third will continue to eat like a horse, and those parents aren't watching this video because they're not worried about their child's feedings. But the ones that start eating like a bird, well, all of a sudden, everyone's worried about that. The good news is, even the ones that go to eating one spoonful each meal, they continue to grow at the exact same rate along the growth curve as they had been before. And while I don't fully understand how that's possible, that's what happens. So you don't have to worry that they're getting undernourished or that there's going to be a problem from a feeding standpoint. They just change their pattern. The question then is, how do we deal with this sort of not wanting to take what you want them to take and those kind of things? And I think we need a little perspective. Keep in mind that in most countries around the world, the children only have 4 foods, and they eat those very same 4 foods every day of their lives, and they grow, they prosper, they live to be 140. I can assure you that those 4 foods, almost none of those make it to the top 20 list of foods that the children like in this country. None of those 4 foods are macaroni and cheese, and yet they're able to take those 4 foods and eat them every day of their life and do just fine. So what does that mean you should do for your child? It means you should prepare the meal that you want to have for your family, and you put it in front of your child, and they have 2 choices. They can eat it. They can not eat it. Doesn't matter to me. There'll be another meal 6 hours later, and they can get whatever nourishment they need at that time. And if they're more hungry, they'll eat more at that time. You do not need to go back and reheat the food. You do not need to go back and make them something different like macaroni and cheese. If they have nutritious food available to them every 6 hours or so, except at night, then you have done your job, and that's all you have to do. Now, a lot of you are going to feel guilty. You're going to feel like this is cruel. I didn't get to see my child eat like they were eating when they were 10 months old. This is not terribly cruel. Take my life, for instance. When I go home at the end of the day and I sit down for a meal, I'm going to have 2 choices. I can either eat what was prepared for me, or the other choice is extremely dietetic. And I can assure you, I never choose that second choice. Now, when it's my favorite meal, am I going to eat more? Yes, I will. And if you give your child their favorite meal, be it macaroni and cheese or whatever, which we can do occasionally, they're going to eat more. But those meals when it's not our favorite thing, they're going to eat enough to get by. So it's not cruel, no guilt. You put nutritious food in front of them, and I can guarantee you I have never had a healthy child lose weight with nutritious food available to them. So that's the plan. I think that we don't need to feel like we're depriving our children. We need to think that we're helping them to be better equipped for the real world. And in the real world, it's not as much about food choices. It's about being blessed to have nutritious food available. So even though this is a common area of struggle, I think if we make it where it's not a battle, where we just have nutritious food and that's it, your life will be a lot easier, and the struggles will go away. So I hope this will help a little bit.